The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Digitalk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
We president when you the juice namulaba apima kawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba lya kilo 5 we anemo kulisa igwanga ne bali mundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Digitalk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop and smart TVs as we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Good evening. We thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Abdalla Tiff and I welcome you to tonight's edition of the Hotline Show. Hotline Show every Monday, we're always here, and remember this is our second show after the raid that happened on the 10th of March 2022. Now, this being our second show of the Hotline, we're trying to still tap into many issues happening within the country. Today, we want to basically look at the violence happening in this country. Right from the 1960s, Uganda's politics has been characterized by violence. If you all remember when it came to changing leadership, right from the topmost political position in this country, there's been violence that has been manifested and many people have lost lives. There's been much of bloodshed. And we believe as a country, as this generation of now, we can do something to see that our politics changes and we do not have much of any bloodshed taking place. If you look at what happened recently at Makerere University, we had a young man, a 27 young man, Biwate, who lost his life as a result of violence that happened between two political groups within the students that confronted each other, and then in the end we lost a life. And we believe this should not continue at whatever expense of other Uganda's life. Well, as we proceed in this, we all know that at one point Mr. Museveni has been on record coming up saying how he himself being the master of violence, and that if there is any other group that attempts to disrupt the peace through violence, he is the master of that game, and he will boldly fight and crush them. Well, my name is Abdalla Tiff, but before I introduce the guests, the panelists within the studios, let's have a brief look at this and then we will return.
I am the president of Uganda. If you want to check my power, you try it. But I get a salary of 3.6 million. And I knock off 700,000 shillings for the NRM. So the money they sent on Mama's account is 2.7 million for the president. I hear some government officials are getting 50 million. What? They give themselves salaries there. I refused that salary. But you challenge my authority now, and you see what happens.
Well, thank you so much, the technical team. That's the President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. In whatever things you can do, you can earn as much as you can. Other people earning 50 millions, and for him, he's only taking 3 million shillings. But he says, just try to challenge his power, and then you will see. Well, this speaks a lot when we talk about violence. But before we proceed, I need to go and introduce my guests, the panelists tonight. I want to start with Counsel Robert Rutaro. Please say hi to the viewers and introduce yourself, and maybe they would love to understand who is Robert Rutaro.
Hello, viewers. It's my pleasure to be here this evening and to interact with you here at Digitalk TV. And thank you, my host, Mr. Abdalla Tiff, and everyone else, my fellow panelists. I'm looking forward to a cordial conversation on what violence can cause. Indeed, we've felt or tested some of its wrath in terms of costing life and all that, property, destruction and all that. But we'll talk when we come there. Otherwise, my name is Robert Rutaro. I'm an advocate with Ergon Advocates. I've also been probably why you invited me in this show, because I've been involved in student politics when I was a guild president at Makerere University way back. So yeah, here, that and more, we'll talk. I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you so much, Bwana Robert Rutaro. Then I also have Comrade Alfred Ssembajwe. He is the current guild president at Kampala University. You're the only man with a record of being a guild president for 2 terms. 3 years, actually. Well, viewers would love to hear from you.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Uganda, and the rest of the world. My name is Alfred Ssembajwe. I'm the guild president of Kampala University, and I'm also a media practitioner, a teacher, with a record of 13 years in practice. So I'm happy to be here once again, for another discussion.
Thank you so much, Bwana Ssembajwe, and we believe many students from Kampala University, they are tuned on watching their guild president. Well, I want to start with Bwana Robert. Last week, is it last week? Yes, last week on Thursday, we witnessed yet another death at Makerere University, and this is not the first time we're experiencing this. If you remember the Right Honorable, the late now, Jacob Oulanyah, in 1990, he was shot at. And it is alleged, amidst so many theories surrounding his death, many people believe that when he was shot at during that time in 1990, he was the guild speaker by then. There was violence that erupted, and he was shot at, affecting his spleen. And in one of the reports, medical reports that were presented to the nation by the Minister for Health, she said that that spleen, which was damaged then, it had also a contribution to his death. And during that very time, there are people like Thomas Okema and Tom Onyango, who were also found dead, actually, at the Freedom Square after being shot at by the security personnel by then. And so many who have had a series of events happening, and many people losing their lives. I believe you were guild president at Makerere University. Briefly tell us, what was the situation then?
Well, thank you so much, Comrade Tiff. What the viewers need to know, and for anybody who is still at university, the students, what they need to know is that violence is a very bad thing. Remember when we used to be in Makerere, we used to say to bad things like that, you say Z, down with violence. Because at the end of it all, there's no win and there's nobody who benefits anything out of it. You cannot, when you evaluate the benefit vis-a-vis the costs and risks of participating in the strikes and all that, at the end of the day, there's too much to lose than to gain. When I was a guild president in Makerere, this was 2008. I'm so privileged, and I think I'm on the record. That's why even today, when I enter Makerere University today, I'm very, very respected by the administration and all those who. I did not tolerate violence.
Or you were just incompetent?
I don't know, but because competence and violence, I don't think they really rhyme as such. But, the leader, it starts, I think, with the leadership. I mean, where you have a violent leader, chances are that he's going to sow that seed in the people he's leading, he or she is leading, and they're going to follow suit. But where you come in a position of leadership, and what's the alternative? I'm glad you are called the alternative, Digitalk. What's the alternative? I mean, you have violences. What are the other alternatives? And then before you choose which one, have you weighed they call it, the SWOT analysis? Have you analyzed what you want to involve yourselves in? Do you see what you benefit? Do you see what you lose? Then at the end of the day, make a choice. I think violence is a choice, and it can be avoided. And my point and advice, especially to students, be non-violent. Don't be violent. I thank you.
Counsel Rutaro, Makerere University has gone exceptionally beyond when it comes to violence. We have many other tertiary institutions in this country. Chambogo at one point they were there, but for Makerere, they are honestly in their own position, own category. What is that unique element that drives the violence within Makerere University?
Well, again, like I said,
different from other universities.
Yeah, different from other universities.
Yes.
First and foremost, Makerere stands in a unique position and place in this country. I think in East Africa there are about 3 universities. You have Nairobi University, you have Makerere University, and you have Dar es Salaam University. Those being the oldest and biggest universities, in a way, have their own unique cultures, characteristics, and way of life. A student of Makerere University, when you find him with a student of Mbara University, the two are different in terms of social behavior, character, thinking, But one or the other. I think just by somebody I'm going to into Makerere University, somebody knows he's going in the most prestigious university, the biggest university in this country, the university, I think, with the highest freedoms. Because if you're a student at KIU, being a private institution, you cause there, violence or whatever, the following day you're dismissed. But Makerere also being a public university, I think are some of the things that explain.
People take advantage of its status.
People take advantage of its status and, and think. And even the placement. Because Makerere being at the heart of the city, right at the center, they know that when Makerere sneezes, the entire city catches a cold. You see? So there's also that one. And I think the students and the politicians. But the other point is us, the politicians who are outside the university. I mean, you've seen in this recent incident, a member of parliament of the National Unity Platform was arrested in the university. As to his innocence or guilt, I don't know. But you see, the politicians, you need to investigate the influence or the contribution of a politician from outside, external, the external influence. You need to seriously investigate that. And this is not unique to opposition or NUP Even when I was at the university myself.
And you were the first NRM.
I was the first NRM group president, but I can confirm I had a lot of support from the government. The government supported me. A lot of big people in the government came to the university and campaigned for me. So maybe what contribution does this have? You know, maybe we need to investigate that also. If we are going to cut violence from universities, can we leave student matters to students?
Thank you so much, Bwana Rutaro Counsel. I want to switch to Ndugu Alfred Ssembajwe. I think you also need to tell us, quite in a while, we have not heard so much from Kampala University.
Yes.
In that regard, when we talk about violence, students, striking, rising up, demanding for this and that and that, and we want to believe that not all is well at Kampala University.
Yes.
What is that you do that, keeps you in, that gives an alternative way of, looking for solutions rather than opting for violence?
You see, like Counsel Rutaro said, we are different communities. Makerere University is unique, like he says. It is a public university which is controlled by the state. There are so many freedoms at Makerere University which are most international. Like, I can give a case in a point. If you want to abscond students from their right to association, you cannot move that because Parliament will call you to order, funders will call you to order, international community will call you to order. It is not our own making. It is the UK making, Makerere University, of which we just follow. Kampala University, we have a different characters compared to Makerere University, where we think in public universities that we, the stakeholders, are the ones to solve our own problems. There is a problem with this government, the Ugandan government, the NRM government. The NRM government thinks that it is the police, the forces, the government, to give solutions to people, to institutions, and to everyone.
Okay.
But I must tell you, it is until when people will come out and say, we are not giving you information, we are not entertaining you, we shall not call you, we shall not invite you in any assemblies or whatsoever, that is when they will realize that they don't have any input in solving problems. Contemporary issues, contemporary problems are solved by the real people who are affected. At private universities, people know their own problems and they know what really happens. Like, let me give you a case in a point. If it is a problem of not having lectures, people will understand that there are delays in salaries, remunerations, and whatsoever. They will understand. So I think
even parents won't complain.
Yes, I think at some times we need to be considerate in private institutions. So I think the character, Makerere being so much international, it is the most diverse community that we have in Uganda. You have a lot of communities there in Makerere where all are different characters, all are different missions, all are different ambitions and whatsoever. So I think also that issue we must understand. Two, Makerere welcomes political parties. It is a freedom of which they respect. Private universities don't, most of them don't welcome, don't associate with political parties. At my university, we are now into a third year of not having a good president because of political parties. Yes, we might say that we are blocking.
Affiliated to certain political groupings, but you do not show them.
Because we know the damages of political parties in Uganda. In Africa, we have a challenge that political parties, when we go into political umbrellas, we are into fighting, other than understanding that we must be different to understand. We are a diverse community, we are a diverse world, people are different. In Africa, we think difference must call for commotion. People must fight to mean they are different. Mm-hmm. NRM has an ideology, NUP has an ideology, it is fighting all over commotion. But in European nations and the Western world, they think political parties and the dispensations, it is a choice, it is ideas. If I'm different from you, let us respect each other. Let us bring our strategies and understand. At the end of the day, we want to get a global effect, not a selfish effect. But in Africa, in universities and in political parties in Africa, selfish goals are more overriding what we call the global effect, what we can do to conserve a society than people are too much selfish for themselves, for their political parties, and to mention. So I think to round up what you were asking, it is because private universities have a different character of which they teach and they move. That is why we are different. We don't call for commotion and violence.
Alfred, like in the instances where you have what's not moving right, and you want to raise your voices, you want to come up with something different, like an alternative to that. How do you always solve that? How do you deal with that?
You see, I think we must be all scholars and students of contemporary social problems and how to solve problems. One, we must have strategies of solving intervention and then solving problems. One, we must understand where do we fall. That is what we first of all understand, we at Kampala University and other universities, private, because I've been trying to benchmark and knowing what is really happening in universities. Let me give you a case in a point. You see, you had an issue of girls who were stopped from attending because of being pregnant. And people were lamenting a lot, making a lot of noise, but the bishop was like, it is our policy here. That is our policy. So it is until you understand where you belong, then you will understand to move with the policies and, respect them. So at Kampala University, the first policy, no commotion, no violence. That is what we follow. So it is until we knock all doors and they are not open, that is when we resort to any other means. But I go to the council, I sit in the Senate, I talk to lecturers, I talk to all associations of teachers and all stakeholders.
And so they give the ears,
yes,
and they react accordingly.
But here in Uganda, when it comes to public universities, before even reaching in parliament, political parties have already forged their way forward to solve an issue. So if it is a new faction that is in leadership, they will only listen to their family, which is their first staff, which is NUP. If they are failing to do this, please call for violence. So that is what is happening in public as compared to private.
Thank you, Alfred. Alfred is the current guild president for Kampala University. I think, just speaking from what Alfred is sharing with us, you said during your tenure at Makerere University, there were less or actually no more of such violence.
No violence, no strike at all.
Yes, so
I'm on record.
Yes, so how did you handle the grievances that arose during that time?
Dialogue. I think people must embrace dialogue as an alternative to violence. Because you see, I was able to get a lot of things moving because of negotiation with the administration. I was a member of council, and I had the hotlines, direct lines to literally everybody in the leadership, the authority. I would call the vice chancellor, I would call the university secretary, I would call the dean of students. Then I also had the communication with security around the university. One day there was a DPC there called the Philip Ochan. He helped me a lot to maintain security. I was in touch with the Inspector General of Police.
Maybe that happened because you were part of the ruling regime. Could it be the reason that you're part of the government?
I think it's the leadership that you provide. Because I know these people I'm talking about, whoever comes into student leadership at the university, regardless of your political party, these people want to reach out to you. Because peace and stability and security of a university students community is the priority of everybody.
Definitely.
Everyone is interested, So whenever, even if you are a NUP guild president or an FDC, the DPC of one day, the RPC and all the security people, you have to keep them close. But now where the problem comes in is where you, the leader, you are the gang leader of the violence. So meaning that you're going to hide away information from these concerned authorities and you're not going to inform them. You're the one planning to attack the resident of the vice chancellor. And you are the guild president and your team. So I think that's where the confusion comes from. Okay? So everything, you asked me a good question. How did I manage? Honestly, I set it out from, I remember at my victory press conference, I had a guest was Honorable, I think, Mary Karoro Okurut. Because at the time, I think she was Minister of Information. She came to the university to address the press conference with me, Victoria Press Conference. And I made a statement. I said, in my term, we are not going to have violence. This is the end of violence in Makerere. I made, the following day, I was declared the winner today, the following day at the press conference, I made that statement. So meaning that from the word go, I set out to resolve conflicts peacefully and by dialogue.
Rutaro, you see, it beats
and I'm glad I achieved it.
Yes, yes, but it beats my understanding. When you came into office, that means you made that statement because there was violence in the years before you came in.
Yes,
you know?
correct, yes.
And then even after when you left, there was violence.
Correct.
Now, where is the biggest problem? If you were using dialogue to engage the different stakeholders to solve problems at the time, what is that has failed these other leaders that have come into office before you or even after you, that they have failed to adopt what you did?
Well, absolutely. That's a good point you make there. But you see, I think the key question we need to ask ourselves in this kind of discussion is that what are the root causes of violence in universities? By the way, it's not unique to Makerere. We are talking, of course, Makerere, watch Susa in Uganda, I think that's how we would say it. They overdo it. But literally in every university, even in primary, secondary schools, we've had violence there. Now, the question is, I think what the question we should dissect here and investigate thoroughly is, what are the causes of violence? Now, when you get these causes, then what solutions do we give to these causes? One of those problems that can actually is the administration, the institution's administration, the administration of the institution. How well does it connect with the students' community? If you're a vice chancellor of a university who is too big-headed that you don't want to know anything about students, the students are going to tell you we don't have water in our room, I mean in our hall. Makerere has halls of residence, Lumumba, Nkrumah, and all that, Mary Stewart. So students are going to say we've not had water flowing in Nkrumah Hall for the last two weeks. And you're a university chancellor and you say, you know, don't pay attention to these problems. People tell you this kind of food, we are eating like prisoners. And you don't care. Say, I don't have money. Eat what's available. Now, when you become so insensitive and you are an administrator of an institution, you're bound to cause problems. That is one. The other thing which also administration can do is, do you communicate? The communication gap is another very big problem.
Between the administration and the
administration and the students' community.
Okay.
How do you communicate? Because you see, these universities, for every policy that a university generates, it has good reasons. And it has been built for a very long period of time. There's no policy that the university thinks, apart from, for example, Makerere yesterday when they, banned, suspended guild and elections and all that, that was emergency.
It is tentative.
Kind of,
it cannot even stand for long.
And I think
exactly, it was for 1 month. It's 1 month.
I think it's for 1 month, and they will do. Now, other than that, policies taken under pressure and circumstances. Many of these policies are built over a period of time. Now, the problem comes in communication. You sit there in the council, you discuss, you develop policies, you don't communicate the students. The day you only come out with a circular, the university council has resolved this and that. And the students are shocked.
Thank you so much, Counsel Rutaro. Yes.
So communication is equally very, very, very important.
Thank you so much. And we have also been joined by Comrade Musiri David. He is the head of institutions at the National Unity Platform. Musiri David has joined us online. I want to give him a second to say hi to the viewers and maybe to also say something on what's really happening. We also what happened at Makerere University, and many allegations are coming through, other people pointing fingers at the National Unity Platform being behind the violence that led to the loss of somebody's life, though we leave that to the police to carry out the investigations. And then if you go to the National Unity platform, they are also pointing fingers at the Forum for Democratic Change being behind the violence. Comrade Musiri, please, you'll say hi to our viewers. Hello.
Thank you so much. I want to greet all the viewers. All the colleagues in the panel today. First, I would want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I basically believe we have answered a few questions around the scenario. And come out, realize that so,
Comrade Musiri, you're not so audible enough. I don't know whether it's a technical problem here or that side.
Are you hearing me now?
Please go ahead.
Hello?
Clearly, let our technical team work out on that, and will be joining us shortly. Well, I want to cross to Ndugu Alfred. What happens, what transpires in these universities? It's almost similar to what happens in our national politics after the universities and all that. And actually, in most cases, the good presidents in those universities that join and become part of the mainstream politics. Even in private universities where we do not see much of violence taking shape, when you cross over after your university times, when you cross over to the mainstream politics, we again see that violence. What is really behind that?
You see, it is my first time to meet Counsel Rutaro, but I didn't know that he subscribed to
the NRM.
NRM by that time in 1990s. So now we are
2008.
Yeah.
Is it 1990? When
No, 2008.
2008.
2008, 2009.
Okay. You see, the biggest challenge why we again receive violence in this country is because we are having leadership that is not honest to people, to tell people what is really happening.
Okay.
Are we really having democracy, or we are having
a shadow of democracy?
Autocracy. Democracy or autocracy. What do I mean? Amini, in 1972, when he was addressing the NUSU people, that is National Union of Students Association by then, it was staged by Obote in the 60s. So he said, we must have a students' leadership of which it must be taking part in national politics. It was his design to make sure that leadership in schools also gives a hand in national leadership. When Amin took over power, he said, you are either a leader at a university or an institution not participating in national politics. It is either you choose to be at universities or to be at universities. And he said, I'm going to give you freedom to speak what you want, but I'm not going to give you freedom. I'm not going to guarantee you freedom after the speech. That is what he said. Muli badembo okwogera bye mwagala mwenga abayizi ne sibakakasa nti wewe munamala okubyogera munaddayo kakasa binabiranga bya bufuzi. That is what I mean said. Frank.
The Alternative Digitalk. real issues, real talk.
You have got to get up pretty early to go do something. We are the Alternative Digitalk. With our mobile studios, we are redefining TV presentation just as technology is setting the pace. We are blending our approach with fresh, perspectively designed breakfast show, The Mighty Drive, informative and entertainment show, exclusive and live interviews.
President Museveni wadde juzi namulaba apima akawunga kilo 2 tasobola kalya nini bwaba alya kilo 5 weyannema okuliisa eggwanga ne bwe limundekera.
Njagala kwebaza the Alternative Digitalk etuwadde kano ka Mighty Drive era n'abatuwuliriza bonna abali ku mikutu njagala basaba mugendo mu maaso n'okuwuliriza.
All given to you just a click away on your phone, tablet, laptop and smart TVs as we are streaming live on our social media platforms, on the road and on the go. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Well, the hotline show continues, and we do apologize for that technical glitch. And Comrade Alfred was trying to drive a point home that right from the regime of President Idi Amin, and then President Museveni came through, you find that a lot has been done almost in the similar fashion. Well, just continue, proceed, and maybe drive that point home and see what exactly you're trying to mean.
Okay. You see, for clarity, I need to be more fluent in at least some bit of Luganda. I will try to spice it up. What I wanted to mean is that one, we've failed to get honesty in what we mean by democracy in Uganda. The revolutionary NRM has failed to explain to us, are we practicing patriotism? Are we practicing democracy? Are we practicing autocracy? What are we? Are we under one umbrella? Are we under a family or whatsoever? What do I want to mean? You've been asking me, why is it that violence comes from institutions and then after to the national level? It is because, one, the politics, the leaders of this country, the institutions of this country think they are the persons who are there to solve the problems of societies. Like you said, we are leaving issues for the police. Tewabanga institution name esolvingira abantu bizibu. Abantu besolvingira ebizibu. Let me give you a case in a point. Now, if we go back to Makerere University, the violence that happened at Makerere University, kintu kyangu nnyo. Gwolowooza poliisi esobola okunganya information okusinga abayizi. Students body oba Makerere Yonga Board institution. Singa Makerere etandika negamba, let us stage up a body and do some investigation comprehensively. Olowooza poliisi esobola okunganya the root cause of that violence more than the university or the guild or the students or the people therein. I think we fail to understand that violence can be solved by the people, not the government. not the police, not CMI, not ISO, not whatsoever. Because...
But it's always like for the violence we are talking about, it was started by the fellow students. Students attacking fellow students.
Violence is started by political parties. By the political parties we have. The NRM, and by the way, NRM is the jaja of all this violence. Museveni has always been saying that he kabakawa violence. Irachi manyi bulungi. Let me give you a case in a point. During the 80s, webalinga basaka. They used to call it kusaka. Nga bubbi bwe nyini. Bubbi bwe nyini bagenda mu nnimiro z'abantu. Looting, serious looting. Bagenda mu nnimiro z'abantu ne bakuula bye baagala. And they branded it kusaka. Kusaka. Are you getting the point? Honesty has always failed in this government. If it is violence, can we sit down as a country and we do what we call self-brutal criticism? Is
that possible?
Yes, it is possible. Because why am I saying it is possible? If it is political parties that are bringing commotion, they are the ones to call to order their clients and characters. They can, if we stage it, if we forge it that NUP ebibiina bifuna respect okuva mu government, okuva mu police, okuva mu forces. Nga police teva buvyeri ne yola buyozi bantu. Ngekwatagana ne these families, it can thoroughly and comprehensively cure and troubleshoot, I think. Naye obuzibu tulina why violence is going on and on and on. It is because the government thinks ye mastermind, ye sobola okukomya violence. That is why from tertiary to national level, from national level to international level, when we go to Japan, will be violence. Are you getting the real point?
Thank you so much, Bwana Alfred. I want to switch to I don't know whether Bwana Musiri is back online, but you'll alert me. Well, Counsel, Alfred is trying to tell us that the government for this country is the mastermind for violence. And then the biggest question is, in the when we come to national politics, there is violence. When we go back to students' politics, there is violence. During the 2021 elections, people lost lives. People were arrested. When we go to university politics, people are losing lives. People are being incarcerated. What is the concrete solution to this?
Thank you. You know, in my previous submission, I was of the view, I put across a point, that first of all, you can't cure anything unless you know what causes it. One, knowing what it is, what has caused it, then you find a solution for it. Okay? Two, do we believe that the situation is that bad as you are painting it? Do we believe, have we reached that level to know that enough is enough? We need now to take action and stop this.
How many lives do we need to lose?
How many lives absolutely must? Is the government and the leaders, are they at that point where you are? You might be ahead. You're moving very fast, but the leaders and people in authority are saying, this is normal. If one child has died, that
is okay.
It is okay. They could have died 100 people. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they think there can be that point where violence, there are 100 bodies on the streets of Kampala. Now they know that now violence is serious. So have we come to a point of appreciating that the situation is getting out of hand? Because when we are at that point, then now the conversion begins.
But before you even proceed, is this a question that we can ask your government and they give it attention? It gets the audience it deserves. Like in the elections, national elections, we lost lives and it was normal. And up to now, it's just normal. So we are seeing this. So it's like this is just a mere drop, in the ocean.
But you see, election violence, I think, is different from the student violence and politics of students and what. Elections is a very, very serious thing. And I've seen my old man on TV when you first put him, that clip you first put of Musei. No, Musei.
Okay.
Mzee is my old man, not Segona. And I saw him saying, you touch my authority, then you will know what I am. And I think he's just being brutally honest. It's not unique to him.
Yeah.
But anyone who is in power, you saw President Trump the other day. America, it's America, a country. But Trump was saying, no, I'm not going. If Trump was in Africa, I don't know how it would be. If Trump was in Africa, I think was going out by gun.
He would be the same like Museveni.
I don't know. Museveni hasn't gone out, so we don't know.
So Trump didn't have a reason.
We don't know how it's going. No, but you see, no, I'm talking about power and what sometimes takes to retain power and the pain of losing it. Now, when we are talking about elections and the president and NRM come out with all their might to defend their positions, that's a different situation. And I think we are talking about university politics as opposed to national politics. But my co-panelist brings an issue and say maybe these students are motivated by the top leadership of the country to be violent. Because you ask a question also, you say, how come even when these students leave the university and they come out to the public,
it's the same thing.
The same thing, they just carry on with that behavior and all that. Of course, behavior sometimes is hard to tame. But also, you find which students are we talking about. When we look at, Kampala University, Kampala. First of all, we need to categorize these institutions. Private institutions vis-a-vis public institutions. I think for most of the problems, we've had them in public institutions, as opposed to private institutions. I don't remember strike at UCU.
It cannot even run for
I don't remember strike at Kampala University, where my brother is a guild president. Because you see there, students come, they know here, we've come to study, you do anything, you're out. Because there is a dress code, I think, at Kampala University. It's an Islamic founded institution. More of Islamic. At IU dress code, I'm told the girls there at IU, regardless of your religion, you have to dress a particular way. Now, these things cannot work in Makerere. So Makerere, sorry, not Makerere, well, we can say Makerere because it's the face of public universities. So it's right to
as you wind up, I want to bring in Comrade Musiri.
Yeah, absolutely. So the culture, the way of life, the secular kind of, lifestyle in these public universities also has made the contribution to some of these problems. So when you're talking about students who come out of universities and they carry on with, which universities have they come from? You may find that people have come from Makerere, who have come from Chambugu, who have come from MUBS, and this one of Mbarara. But you find when my brother here graduates and comes, they're the same peaceful people. Because it's a training they've had.
Thank you so much.
But we saw a victim from UCU, I'm told he's from UCU, the one who was shot at in Makerere.
Yes.
And we also go there to Makerere to exercise. Because also in Chambugu.
Maybe it's the only place where you can exercise that.
Definitely.
Anyway, I don't know. Well, I want to bring in Comrade Musiri. Sorry about that we lost you in the first place. If one says that the violence at Makerere University is instigated by the state or the regime, what would be your response?
Yeah, first of all, I want to know if I'm loud and clear.
Very much.
And those of you that are in the studio.
We can hear you.
Yes, yes. I have had colleagues there throw some light sentiments and sentiments I am not well versed of. I'm not actually even sure if they know what exactly went ahead in that university. Because when someone talks about private universities and government universities, first of all, I want to build the case, starting by Rendile report. I have had learned colleagues in that studio, I think, giving some of the statements without one, the Rendile report, that professor sat down and analyzed what was going on at Makerere University, where I came up with the ghost professors, students, and the like. But one of the very prudent points that he came up with about the loan that we had as Makerere University, but also with also the debt that we had as university. And some recommendations like which were opposed by the students, and later the government wanted to cover the Rendile report, started to bring draconian policies, one of which was the 15% tuition increment. I want to alive to the fact that all colleagues that are in the studio knew about the fees must fall struggle, which was so much engineered by the administrators and also government, because sometimes I hear people say that students are hooligans, students are aggressive, students are not peaceful. In most of the cases, students want to have these platforms, and before they swing into action, they must have exhausted all platforms for, let's say, for engagement. I do not want to use the word negotiation because of recent it is becoming poisonous, but in the regard of Makerere University. So in most cases, we would want to engage with management. For that very case study, and policy is passed in Makerere University. Any kind of series that is injustice, that is unjust to students, once it is passed at Makerere University, by the time you know it will be implemented elsewhere, whether private universities or even government universities. For instance, as we were fighting for 15 tuition increment, we knew it was in Makerere University, but before we knew it was also implemented in Guru University as 10% tuition increment. Then we came to Ambogo University. Now it rebranded and it became 12 weeks policy. And I think colleagues know that we lost one of our brother in the names of Abraham lost a hand.
Yeah.
This was a government student who wanted actually to protect the friends, the colleagues that were at Chambogo University. Therefore, I want to let you know that whatever ruckus you see government and management implementing at Makerere University, it will that university, whether it is a private university or a government university. Now
Musiri,
it has.
Comrade Musiri, if you
Yes.
if you look at the recent events at Makerere University where Bewate lost his life, how would you comment on that? And since that you're the head of institutions for the National Unity Platform, one of the parties that was in the spotlight for that violence, as alleged by many media reports.
Yes, before we go to the parties, I want to let you know that we have people whose egos are high and they cannot turn even the around. For example, the professors, I want to tell you about one who is Professor Barnabas Mnawangwe. Some of them, they are the root cause of whatever is going on. Even what we call the violence in universities. Because before we lost a UCU student, this very impasse started by suspending guilty candidates of NUP. Now, we want to go back to the root cause. Why were these candidates suspended? Are general assemblies not accepted in universities? Because we are very sure that we have the university constitution, but which also gets its mandate in the national constitution of this country called Uganda. But on the same case, candidates of NUP have been suspended, but not only suspending them, but colleagues like Calvin, colleagues like Keke, one guy who is now actually behind bars, colleagues Bosa were only suspended, but also brutalized, and from orders of the vice chancellor Barnabas. The root cause of the ruckus is not even actually. They don't. I would say that this violence, its genesis is students, but rather the government is the management through Banawangwe, who works on behalf of us, but also on behalf of the.
Thank you, Comrade Musiri. Musiri is referring to, is actually attributing this violence to the current Vice Chancellor, Barnabas Nawangwe. But Barnabas Nawangwe came into that office in 2017. But even before 2017, we've witnessed a series of, violence strikes taking place. You remember in the times of Professor Dumba, here nothing good was really at Makerere University. Riots after riots, strikes after strikes. Now, I want to go to Comrade Alfred. You mentioned that, he was referring to the traits that leaders from universities carry on when they leave universities and they join the national politics. We have political parties that are not tolerated in private universities. Though at public universities, they are tolerated. Unfortunately, they do not appear on their ballot boxes, ballot papers. And I think when you are being elected, Bwana Rutaro, the bus did not appear on your ballot paper, right?
No, it did.
It did? No, it wasn't there. Maybe by then.
No.
But
I think it doesn't.
It doesn't appear. Now, we're all pointing at political parties or external influence of political parties in these universities. Yeah. How much have they instigated this violence?
You see, political parties are, how can I call them? They are social, they are different social groups of which we all fall under. You are either into a political party A or B, of which we all have a right to associate in any way or in any way we want. Like you said in your statements that, yes, it is even wrong for private institutions to ban political parties in universities if they are teaching political science, if they're teaching politics, if they're teaching sociology, if they're social work and whatsoever. Because it is through these political parties that we understand how to socialize and the values of unity among groups. The only challenge of political parties in Africa, I have to brand it Africa, is what are the goals and ambitions and the ideologies of political parties in Africa? One, let me go to National Unity Platform, of which Honorable Musiri subscribes to. One, there is no national agenda. It is all about changing power in one way or the other.
That is the agenda.
That is their agenda, changing power. So it has become an agenda for all political parties in Africa. Changing, transition, not the ideology. Let me give you a case in a point. We had here a politician called Kennedy Chams. He was a conservative environment, and it is environment. It was his ideology. But did we take time to read and understand if he was real about his ideology, or he was just mediocre and, making, games all running into Mayuni? How many trees has he planted to mean that they are really conservative party? They are a conservative party, democratic party. How often have they practiced their democracy within themselves and then to mean that they are moving their ideology?
Being conservative does not necessarily go to planting trees.
No.
Maybe that's conserving something else.
Let me tell you something. You see, I most of the times we look at countries like Germany, and I beg a leaf, and buy a leaf to our countries. Let me give you a case in a point. These political parties are getting funds because of their ideologies. Now let me tell you, Conservative Party used to get funds from the international community because of that ideology of conserving, because every political party, let it be Green Party or DP or NUP, they must have an ideology which calls for grants and donations from the international community. All in Africa, all elsewhere, it is what calls for that social group. So there is not any political party that does not have any agenda.
No, the point I'm trying to make here is that when we talk about a Conservative Party and
their prime objective,
we drive them to the end.
Their prime objective.
Just a second.
You go back to.
Just a second. I want to go back to, if you look at the French Revolution and what happened during that time. There is a wing that wanted to conserve whatever was taking place. And for them, they wanted to maintain the status quo by then. They wanted everything conserved as it was. Not necessarily that they were being conservative, you're into agriculture or planting trees and all that. We have here a party called Green Partisan Tree. Green Party. Actually, for them, the ideology is basically planting trees. But for Conservative Party, maybe we need to revisit them and understand what do they really conserve. We may not drive them to the point of trees,
so this is
but maybe they are conserving something else.
So this is what you don't know now. You go back to Ken Luchams. I've been engaging with these people and trying to read their minds and trying to understand what are their missions. It was conserving the environment. That was their prime objective into this leadership, whatsoever group.
Okay.
NRM, their prime objective, their ideology is like he said, you know, how do you call it? Miaka chikumi, like the Prime Minister said, miaka chikumi. Consolidation of power. That is their prime goal. Miaka atano, obabatia, that is their what? Their prime objective. Kakati, NUP, their prime objective has always been change of power. That is why if you read Museveni's manifesto, it is more better with a global effect as compared to the NUP and other political parties. Museveni will tell you, securing your future. It is a broad thing to understand. NUP will tell you nothing. What was their ideology?
A new Uganda.
That is what they are meaning. Transition. No strategies, but it is all about change of what? Ye Museveni akugamba oyina ko olina buli anaka business aka million 5 ntiye. Teri government egenda kuwa kyabwerere egenda kwongerako bwongezi. Securing your future. Oyo mugezi asobola okufuga waneeno. So the problem is the ideology. Kati NUP olwokuba ideology yayo and other political parties in opposition is we must change in peace or not in
the
peace.
Ideology is Museveni.
Ideology is
removing Museveni.
Let me tell you why people are dying. Fred Hampton died mu myaka emitenyo in 60s in America. Ninge kimusabye ebyo. You know, no ideology eriyo nti omuddugavu alina okubagana n'omuzungu. Oba tukubagane nenge ensi gye balimu bagendayo bugenzi. Omuzungu will not give you respect kubanga waliwo oli ku buddu. Byoyogere ebya French Revolution. Byonna. By the way, that is why I'm respecting now the government and babadde bavumanyo omukyala Janet Kataha Museveni. Naye yagambye now let us shift to oral exams. Tutegere abaana bategera bye basoma. So, ebyo byoyogera ebya French Revolution. Omuzungu yabitusomesa tufunireko visa. Ne single day no revisiting ebintu ebyo. How many have did North American history and have gone to apply for visa and have been denied? Babitusomesa tugende tumekubera nga aliens. Are you getting the real point? Obirengo inacho umanya, what do you want to do in America? What do you want to do in whatsoever? The political parties weziri. Nti tuziyingiramu olwa egos like he said obusungu n'ebichi naye tulemeddwa okurespecting a dispensation. The ideologies are different. They differ. We are diverse. That is why we shift from the national egos netuzitwala mu universities nekife ekintu. And I think the only way to go is I think to jeffenge
ideological orientation.
Yes, tujenge gwanga tukole chebeta brutal criticism. Twekube mutoki twebuze what is our culture fengafe? What are our values as a country?
Thank you so much. I want to go to
now you see Musiri is blaming Nawangwe, but again you brought a case in a point of Dumba. Kati bana abantu abatunulira omuntu abo nabo buzibu eri gwanga nti otunulira Nawangwe n'otunulira Dumba n'otunulira. The problem is not Dumba. If the problem is the institution nga ekizibu by the way, the biggest problem in Uganda is all stakeholders are not involved. Ne bwe kiba national level bagamba bagenda kwebuuza ku bantu kutogikwata tebajja kwebuuza balimba bulimbi bantu. Are you getting the real problem?
It takes us back to the point of honesty.
Bulimba, at the end of the day we are just lying around, and that is what we are moving in.
Thank you so much. Comrade Rutaro, Alfred says our politics, actually our political parties, they have not oriented their members with their ideologies. You find that when you ask a member of the FDC, why are you not in NUP? He will tell you, if you ask a DP, why are you not in JEMA? If you ask a JEMA, why are you not in DP? Because there is that ideological gap, according to him. He says it's one of the reasons why, as a country, we're experiencing violence right from the institutions and even in the national politics. Now, he mentioned about the ideology, the agenda of the NRM party. And one of your agenda is to consolidate power. And I believe any group in power, that will be the main focus. Even if it was DP today in power, they would wish, they would actually want to consolidate power.
Where there is no total democracy.
Even if it was UPC, NUP, DP, GEM, whatever group, any group that gets into power, their main thinking is how do we keep ourselves in power? Now, I want you to be very, very honest, Bwana Robert.
Yeah.
Does your government, does the state has a hand in the violence in this country?
Well, thank you very much. I try to stick to the mulamwa of the conversation. Keep in mind where we are coming from in this conversation, violence at universities, strikes. And I had mentioned earlier that in investigating this problem, what causes, the violence and the confusion in institutions, we need to find where is the problem. Now, Alfred here brings this.
And Musiri said the problem is Nawangwe.
Now, Mr. Musiri says the problem in Nawangwe. Mr. Alfred here says it has to do with ideological, and I want to relate to that.
Okay.
I think he has a point. You see, what is the agenda of the party? The ideology of the party. When I was at the university, because in NRM, we believe in peace and stability. You will not see in NRM people demonstrating on the streets of Kampala, especially violent demonstrations, dressed in yellow t-shirts and whatnot. But every time there's been a demonstration in Kampala, throwing stones.
There is a time I saw a group of taxi drivers which was headed by Mayambala, Mustafa Mayambala, and they were demonstrating along Kampala Road.
Yeah, but you see, even when they are demonstrating...
And fortunately, no one attacked them because they were donned in yellow. I want to believe so.
Even when they are demonstrating, NRM demonstration groups, they are demonstrating peacefully. You see? Now, the ideology, the thinking of the party, when a NUP member is demonstrating, he wants to kill somebody because he wants to drive a point home.
Rutaro.
Yes.
It is Rutaro.
That's the conversion he wants to take home. It's violent. Now, so what is the contribution of political parties in planting or instigating violence in our society? We need to critically look at that. I believe, and why I say relate to his submission, political parties in this country, especially those in opposition, have a hand, a very big hand, by the way, in causing violence in this country. A very big hand. I mean, I've just given an example. Wherever there's
opposition political parties
have a hand
in the violence in this country.
Very deep hand. Very, very deep one. Because when you look at it, what is the message Dr. Besigye takes out every time he starts to talk? Resist, fight,
Defy.
You know?
Defy.
Defy. Yeah. This is what Dr. Besigye is talking about. And what do you expect a young man, listen, Dr. Besigye, and who looks up to him as a role model, what do you expect to do? But Dr. Besigye Gambi will defy everything government defy. Now, even when they are in the universities, especially universities as Makerere, where politics is pronounced and people stand on the political parties and they have keys and me I had buses when I was a candidate there. A friend of mine called Charles Muhangi of Horizon Coaches gave me 3 buses. And so I was driving because that's a bus. I'm NRM as a bus. Then you see new people donning in all sorts of red things and umbrellas, at least for Makere. Now, when you see people are demonstrating the culture and behavior of their political parties. Because we know FDC is about defiance. NUP, they don't call it defiance, but it's worse than defiance. Because I think NUP is worse than FDC in as far as violence and bad manners is concerned. Now, this is what they're teaching their members. Now, a student who is in university and identifies with NUP thinks that identifying with NUP means being violent. Even when there are strikes in the university, most of the people find they are striking, opposition leaning, because they think, sometimes I get to imagine, probably when they are, participating or leading strikes, maybe they think they can cause the government to fall. And the leaders of that choice come to power, which is really far-fetched.
Thank you so much.
A university is a very small, community of people to contain under whatever circumstance.
Thank you so much. I want to thank the colleagues watching us, Brooke Williams, Chikomeko, Comrade Mordecai Morisa, Nabadashami. I really thank you all for being part of the discussion. I'll be going through a few comments here. Brooke Williams says, we have a captured country. No political parties here. And then this one says, I need people's budget. Look at this guy. He should listen to Chiza Besigye and learn. I don't know whom he was referring to. NRM is the master of violence, according to Kaguta. Then Princess Shamim Zaidi says, you can't bring people who left universities decades back to come and discuss issues concerning university politics. Well, I want to open our lines before I bring in Comrade Musiri again. I want to open our lines. You can share with us. Give us a call on 0789 017 145 or 0759 132 310. Give us a call, and then after that, I'll be getting back to Comrade Musiri to react to what is being said by the comrades here in the studios. One is saying that NUP does not have an ideology. Your ideology is only to remove a dictator. Actually, there is a message that came here that in the previous guild elections, NUP, you promised to vaccinate the junta. Was the junta vaccinated? I don't know. Comrade Musiri will actually give us a reaction to that.
Yeah, but I want to conclude the point I was making.
Yes,
about
just in 30 seconds.
Absolutely. About political parties and the violence associated, with their members. Because what's the way forward? It's not enough to talk about things and you don't give solutions. Political parties, it's high time, whether you're in opposition, whether you start giving a message of peace, dialogue, negotiation. It doesn't do any harm for Dr. Besigye to start and say, yes, it's possible to negotiate our way to power. Yes, it's possible to negotiate and, have things done. Yes, it's possible to negotiate and have people released from prison. But not let's fight, let's attack. There's nothing you've got from attacking. There's nothing you've got from fighting.
I want to
Stop spoiling the people and lying people that, through violence, they can cause change. No.
I want to go back to Comrade Musiri. There are very strong allegations here being made against the NUP that your ideology is a bit wanting. You've not been able to maybe instill it amongst Ugandans to truly understand what does the National Unity Platform stand for other than vaccinating the junta, and maybe you should give us an account of the one-year leadership of the NUP Guild President who promised to vaccinate the junta. Yes, Comrade Musiri. Well, we've lost him. I think he's online. Hello? We have a call online. Oh, it's Comrade Musiri. Yes, Comrade Musiri. Comrade Musiri, I think he still has issues with his connection. You know, Uganda is one of the countries with unstable internet, and maybe something should be done, because that is the direction now the country and the whole world is taking. So we really need to have stable connection, in that we become part of the global village in this regard. Now, Alfred.
Yes.
You're raising something, the issue of ideology. Do you think our political parties are doing enough to educate their members, to tell them what they stand for, other than, because most of our politics here is driven by personalities. Someone likes Alfred and you choose to follow him. You do not know, you're not actually interested in knowing whether Alfred stands for what. You don't care. Do you think our political parties are doing enough to share their ideologies with their followers?
We are so much corrupted with dictatorship. We in Africa, more so in Uganda, we most believe in Kabaka, Mukamacha, Bazinga. So no, we don't believe in democracy, by the way, in Africa. That is the real fact, the honesty that I told you about, the best policy that we live in, that we dwell in. We must respect Chovolaba, Mr. Utala Kugambi, Ugandans take peace. Buba tikinga mirembe, buti bali kwebyo. Balaba munagamba nti kakati wanena ani anampa emirembe nana nkumira ka business kange natikinga muzeyi. Bana Uganda batikinga muzeyi lwa mirembe. Abba kyabina n'akirya. Tebyali webyo.
Let's say that again. Say it in English.
In Uganda, there has never existed peace like we have right over now. For the past 30 years, this kind of peace, it has never existed in Uganda.
Someone goes and does what?
You steal your bags of money,
and you enjoy peace.
Untaxed, you eat and go. You do corruption, nobody touches you, you go away. You buy, Barbara sent one Egundi. By the way, I should not derail from the topic, like he said, Counsel Rutaro. We believe in dictatorship. Democracy. It is expensive, by the way. Democracy is much expensive. When we opted for a lot of parishes and villages, we're now having a lot of councillors of which are NUP and they're not functioning. They're defunct. We're having so many.
Why do you tag them to NUP? We have.
I'm in Kampala. I live in Kampala.
We have 29 registered, actually 26 registered political parties.
I live in Kampala, so I know. We have Mulyanyama here. Is a NUP whatever. So nothing is going on ground. So to manage dictatorship, mzee bwanaje nagamba lugudo ono lunsanyusiza balukolenga balukolenja. Kabaka byakola.
Isn't it being done deliberately to frustrate the NUP and those in the opposition because they are not pro the regime?
You see my friend Abdu.
It could be deliberate to have them frustrated. In that whatever they want to do for the people, they are frustrated and people will hate them.
Power. The word power means a lot of things. Power means money. Power means fame. Power means happiness. So that is power. So if NUP don't have power, they cannot do what you are mentioning. Naye ate tulowozesa abantu democracy bwakuteeka mu MP ogenda kubikola. Bwakufuula kansala ogenda kubikola. This is what I'm talking about. We are ideally into democracy of where we are not. Tetuli mu democracy, tuli mu dictatorship. But it is unimproved. You know, Gashumba one time said Museveni is a land ida Amin. Amin yasomyeko. Ate nga kituufu. Naye ndowooza enjawulo eriwo wakati wa Museveni na Amin. Amin yali more patriotic than Museveni. Museveni is a businessman. So kakati ebyo bibiri bw'obigatta ebyo. Tetulina hoji.
I want to bring in
so that is the only problem we are having.
Particular time. Comrade Musiri, please, I think you should chip in at this particular time. We need to hear from you. How far have you been able to orient your members with the NUP ideology rather than promising them to removing a dictator, which task has also seemed to be very hectic for you? Comrade Musiri? I think we are having very, very serious issues with Musiri's connection. I need to go to Brother Rutaro, and then for those who want to be part of this conversation, give us a call, 0789 017 145, 0759 132 310. Give us a call, tell us where you're calling from, and then be part of the discussion. You give us your opinion. Ndugu Rutaro,
Yeah.
it seems the democracy we have is not ours. Is it time that we should have democracy that fits our society? I don't know. I don't know. Is that a conversation that we should give a platform? Because it seems the audience we have is more of imported. And it is time maybe to draft and design the democracy that works for this country.
No, we live in a global community. We are not an island. So there is no way you can say that we have our own democracy different from, the rest of
the democracy we have was someone's idea.
But we have different types of democracy, and he knows.
Yeah, well, yes.
And it was someone's idea, so it can also be crafted here.
Well, yes. But you see, we strive to better ourselves. And we acknowledge in the process and, along the journey of, striving to develop and better ourselves democratically, politically, and otherwise, we are cognizant of the challenges along the way, the hills and the valleys, So, but we cannot abandon ship because we've seen democracy. You see, I think what we must realize is democracy is not an event, that it occurs. No, you built it. It's grown. It's nurtured. Some of these things, we have to go through them in order to get to a point where people can talk freely, where people can now, stand for position of leadership without any, the way it's in America, where people can resign. You see what is in the United Kingdom now. One minister for cabinet say, I've lost interest in my prime minister, and the prime minister and the president steps down. We'll get there. But you're not yet there. So it's just fine that the democracy we have now is actually what suits us. In my thinking is we cannot do better than where we are.
Okay.
It's the level where we are now. You cannot jump. No. All these communities, even the most democratic communities in the world, started and have grown through to the point where they are now.
Bwana Rutaro, you being a lawyer, an advocate, I am very sure that you know that you are either democratic or you're not. You cannot be partially democratic. You are either democratic.
No, actually, you can in reality.
Or you're not.
These are academics. What you are talking about, that you cannot be partially, you cannot be. This is academics. But the reality, I wish you could be as realistic as possible. What happens on the ground? Yes, you can be partially democratic, and I think in Uganda, if somebody said we are not a full democracy, we are half. Because we are not yet there at full democracy of America and United States, and United Kingdom. We are not yet there. If that is full democracy, we are not there. So probably we are at half democracy, or even quarter. But you see, the point is we are growing.
At what rate?
Definitely, yeah. The speed we are at which we are moving, that's a different matter.
We are middle class.
The speed at which we are moving. But of course, I agree with the Ugandans who say, because you see, change of leadership in any country is part and parcel of growing democracies. When you look at Tanzania, poor as they may be in terms of economic and GDP and whatnot, But the fact that they have sorted their political question of change of leadership, that in Tanzania a leader can go and another one comes tomorrow without any causing any shock.
But from the same political party?
And then from the same political party.
Since independence?
Yeah. Well, that's now another thing. There could have been different political parties, well, but it's the same party anyway. But you see, the thing is that you have managed to demystify presidency. You have managed to demystify. So it's clear to the Tanzanians, wherever they are, that, you know, presidents come and go. Now, in Uganda, we are missing that element on our democracy, as a stone, a brick on our democracy. That particular element is missing. And I think alike the many Ugandans, you know, who yearn for that opportunity. And I'm sure even the leadership at the moment equally think about it. You know, that's a very, very important thing.
Okay.
That, you know, but otherwise, democracy is democracy. We cannot say that you want to be. That's why here, ministers don't resign. Honorable Musenero will not be in the cabinet.
Kaboyo.
Kaboyo. But Musenero, because I've been following the conversation.
Maybe even the president himself.
I've been following the conversation of Musenero and Yona Msinguzi. And how Musenero defends herself. But whether she knows Central, I'm not here to render judgment. But you see, I imagine if this was in Europe, I think Dr. Musenero would have stepped down for one reason or the other. But we are not yet there.
And but you hopefully will get there.
We will get there. If she did it, because Yona Msinguzi has criticized you, and I said he has been to a vaccine laboratory and there is no test tube, there is no what, only an askari dressed it. If that was, if Dr. Msenero left government on the basis of these arguments, she would have done the unthinkable. And would laugh at her and say, what's wrong with Msenero?
Maybe resigning is not part of our culture.
But well, she's there.
We're still open.
That's where our democracy is now.
We're still open to our last lines. Our studio lines are 0789 017 145 and then 0759 132 and 310. Well, Comrade Musiri, I really wanted to have you be part of this conversation, but your network is not doing us well. Maybe, I don't know if it's now clear, and would love really to hear from you. The gentleman in the studios pointing it at your party that you have not done enough to share your ideology, political agenda with your followers, but instead you're promising to vaccinate the junta, you're promising to remove a dictator, and Entebbe Muntebbe, and up to now, you've not reached Entebbe. What is happening?
Yes. Before I went off, I had a chance from Alfred. When he cited, I think it was about the Conservative Party, where he literally directly translated conservativeness of nature and whatever I heard from him. But these parties, like for instance, Conservative Party, we know that now the ruling party of UK Conservative Party, and we all know what it entails. But in a country where curtailed, I don't think you blame any grouping. And I want to let you know, as any, the only way we can sell our ideology to the students and to other people of other groupings, it is through what I told you, one of which would be the general assemblies, the gatherings. But if you are and they cannot even allow you associate, there is no freedom of association, you cannot gather and speak. My brother, where do you want us to sell our ideology to the groupings from? Surely we have an ideology as a party. We have values that we stand for. For example, us being social democratic, it is known. But let's have an ideology and keep it in maybe a briefcase or in your wallet. And you must we must have freedom for us to allow to expand it through associating with our own people, even when people, when our party allowed, we have that that honesty that can talk to anyone that we want. I have had several statements, I think, about DP. I don't think it is right for colleagues to be on this front line and start castigating parties that they have failed to do certain things when opposition and powers have been. We all, I think it is self-explanatory that we all know this. In universities, in tertiary institutions of learning, it started by scope like political science. Everyone is alive to the fact that this is public information that everyone knows that the dictator would not want us to create awareness. So for us, I think it would be a miss out for us to think that students should be non-partisan. Yet we think, for us, for example, let me give my example as a soccer fan. In soccer, we have these academies, and we believe that these academies, because at the end, even when students study and get those degrees, they will come out, they will go out there, and the future will find them. And surely, some of the students are going to run for offices. How do you curtail them from joining a party of their choice? For me, I would think if the party, if the ruling party was not a coward, would allow everyone to subscribe to any party. For example, for us, as we have our values, and one of which is the integrity, inclusiveness, service, discipline. And I've heard some people blaming us for being violent. As NUP, have never been violent, but we know the master of violence is the rebel, the General Museveni. Museveni has always been violent, and his people have been violent. So when people come and say NUP has been violent, for example, for this case, if you want to showcase in this scenario that just recently happened at Makerere University, allow anyone come up with a video to show you that NUP was violent. Okay, there are issues that we could put on. There is a camera, the main cameras, one of the strongest, I think it is that camera next to know who started the fight. And NUP has not come, but any
your connection is really not so good, but I'm sure you can hear me. When you talk about having universities being used as a nurturing hub for young politicians, and I would think maybe political parties should take on this role to have the leadership centers, leadership academies, to, just like you gave an example of football clubs, where they do have soccer academies, and don't you think this should be a responsibility of political parties to nurture, in that by the time these politicians move out of the academies, they are really able to represent what they learn from their centers?
It is exactly what I'm saying, that the only way we can make academies,
you want it to be done at the university. You want this to be a role at the university.
Have chapters. I want to lie to the fact that universities have a structure, very organized. I think it is one of the institutions that the dictator had failed to infiltrate into, because the universities have gotten chapters, and through chapters, when I talk about academies, I say that I talked about the academies because it has a structure, academy, and how you can employ your efforts in the main team, and also qualify to be either on the first 11 or the second 11. For us, how do you want to mean that you want us to build schools that we should take students somewhere else to teach them? I think we are using the venue, we are using the same avenue that we should bring these people into chapters, and the chapters, there is a way specifically on how they operate. We have a criteria on how we operate. We operate through general assemblies. You gather students, and let them know your ideology. That is what I'm about here. But in a can tantamount to suspension of students. Huh? I am telling you here on this national television that candidates in a process were suspended. But even when we got other candidates, they are trying to implicate NUP, and they are trying to implicate the leaders of the party that the leaders of institutions, that we are responsible. It is the same thing I'm telling you, that government is responsible for the murder of the student, and actually even the vice chancellor. They are so responsible, because I want to let you know before you put me off, because you have given colleagues in the studio so much time. I want to incite for you something very small, and if you are careful, you get the gist out of it. One, that last rally, we know how important it is. I am seeing a former guild president of Makerere, the last NRM candidate actually in Makerere. But if you are having and you don't deploy any security at all, you come, you admit which has endorsed with and you expect North Korea to come on board with their candidate, and they have two armies, two brigades, that is NRA and OGB, and you have not deployed, and you wait for people to fight within just 2 minutes or 5. You deploy, and there is a ruckus of tear gas and live bullets. Now, what do you insinuate? What do you think? It should be the police to blame and the university management for the loss of our brother. But us as a party, just because people want to do their good job, just because the vice chancellor wants to have an illegal term extended, we all know that this vice chancellor, Barabas Nawangwe, is now 67 years. He became a vice chancellor when he was 63, and we know the law. The law only allows one to become a vice chancellor when he's below 65 years. So let the man go and sit. Let him go and rear cattle. Surely, he should not do this here. And there is a problem, because as a TV, as Digitalk TV, I want to let you know, and I want to inspire you and challenge you to start a conversation. Why don't we have these associate professors and these other taken to the level of professors? Always, the government has always said that there is no funds, but yet they want to pay for professors who are supposed to retire and hang in there. Therefore, we should have the young associate professors be promoted to the level of the professors, have the doctors be promoted to the level of the professors, so that we can have democracy in these universities. Maybe our freedoms, our students' freedoms, will not be curtailed by people who want to hang on power, people who are greedy on power. Surely, I think we should come out and castigate these organists.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Comrade Musiri. I have one question before I let you go. You're saying that NRM is the master of violence. And then you also say it is the government and Professor Nawangwe who should account to us the death of Bewate. In most of the times, we have been seeing this violence happening between opposition political parties and the NRM. And for this particular case, we saw it happening between two opposition political parties. That actually, I was in Makerere myself, and I first witnessed a confrontation between NUP and JEMA, which had a very, very small group of people. But they were attacked. And then later on, we had what happened at the golf, golf, how do you call it? The rugby grounds. Then we saw what happened at the rugby grounds. Why is it that this time we are seeing opposition fighting fellow opposition? Why isn't this kind of energy being directed to, oh, no, I think this is not right. Maybe one may think I'm saying they should fight, they should attack the regime, which is not right. But why don't you use this energy to agree, you discuss and agree, and then see how you can topple the regime as you want it to be, overthrown peacefully through democratic means? Yes, why are we seeing opposition fighting opposition?
I was saying we are not castigated. I pray that and it's saddening that when I want to give my submission, I have interrupts. But I was telling you that you asked why we are castigating government, now one way to be answerable and the rest. I want to let you know that we are not only castigating them, but they are duty bound to make sure that students are safe. I think everyone knows that it is the government that is supposed to make sure that students are safe. And now one way on behalf of the Supreme Council, which is the University Council. And this is not the first time those fights have been have arisen. For example, why I said it has been always the management with the management is because this management is on a politicking. They have become political players to make that give them not offloaded. They are left there to hang in. That is the purpose, that they can still be vice chancellors, even when it is for them to be in the office, is looking for vibrant and will make a statement that unprofessional, like Mama said, sure, we need to expect his such. And you know his mother, sure. Therefore, I want to let you know that you are saying that you saw students confront each other. You want to let us know that in the primary schools, pupils do not protect themselves. Whose job is to protect? When kids fight in your home, I'm sure that you have kids, you people that are on, but kids who are sisters and brothers. Time they can disagree or agree, but who is that person that can come in the middle there to separate them? Who is responsible?
I think there
is the question of
very last remark, because we are running out of time and we need to leave to be out of. So I just want to give you more 30 seconds, and maybe you give us your very, very last remarks.
I want to know from us, whose job is it to protect students? First, I'm telling you that what will happen. First, was on the ground. I have never denied that. But as our candidate came to the venue, after 45 minutes, when no candidate is to give him a microphone to talk supporters, he campaigned. But after that, because the was not coming, NC decided to give him a leave that should go and have procession elsewhere. And the man decided to command his voters, supporters, to move away to go for processions. Only to know that as reaching the road, that was so someone should not say that an ambush is also refers does people coming. This was an ambush, and before you know, it was sticks, stones, bottles flying over. Before you know, even when there was no air security, after just for that incident, security was over. We all now tear gas, live bullets. Where were they? This is a question of responsibility. Now they want to implicate the likes of KJ Katereka, Julius, one of our that they are also.
Thank you so much. We've lost you, comrade. Maybe before we wind up, I need to read a few comments here. Tumusime Kato says, but then what inspires the violence in universities? Are they sponsored? Or funny is that the violent students or people are not direct beneficiaries of the election. So what could be the cause? Then this one, Nuwamanya Patience, she says, my current suggestion, it would have been better if you brought on the show previous guild aspirants to speak for the parties the way you have brought David for NUP and the same Ssembajwe. Why would you have brought you would have brought an FDC person as well? Then Taliwachi, Muhwezi, Maxon for NRM, because this is about violence of political parties, more so in Makere. Then this one says, now let facts be facts. Hating on a party doesn't mean it should be pointed at. For those that have participated in the Grid campaigns for the past 5 or 3 years, you will testify it's not the same with that of the last 5 years or below the violence. I fail to understand that. Then this one says, now, dictators are removed through resistance, popular protests, boycott. Dictators are compelled out of power. They are forced out of power. That's Brooke Williams. And then I don't think Ugandans need to vaccinate the junta. And then this one says, how many, this is a princess, how many has he engaged and who specifically did he engage with? I think this one was referring to Comrade Robert. Then this one, Betuka John says, we are not hearing him. I think that's the time when Comrade Musiri came. Then Kasole Ismaili from Hoima City, we thank you for being part of the show. And I need people's budget. Look what this guy issued. Okay. Well, that's, then this one says, Caroline Carls, thanks for the show. Tumusime Kakuru, I'm already watching. Thank you for the show. Ready for the show, watching, thanks for the show. This is in Wamanya Patience. Then Boy D, Wiz Boy, those are ISO boys we know. I don't know who, but he says they know them, the ISO boys. Well, I think I'm afraid we are running out of time, and I just need to give each of you 1.5 minutes to give me your closing remarks and also suggest alternative solutions to curbing violence out of our politics. I want to start with, let me start with the Kampala University Guild president.
Yes. Violence is created by the people and must be solved by the people. It shouldn't be police or government to think that they are the authority over violence. That is a wrong statement about police, forces, and also the government. 2, we must also understand that respecting political parties will help us curb down the violence, because it is these political parties that will bring to order all these characters that we are blaming. Let us respect NUP leadership, let's respect NRM, FDC, and whatsoever. They are the umbrellas of which people respect. So it is until when you respect their parties, then they will learn to respect their forces. Finally, before I go, when it comes to violence, I want to put it to the police and other stakeholders who think they are fighting violence. It is the people that know what is really happening. I think the university must come out with a report a comprehensive report about what really transpired, because it is the university that must be knowing all the corners of where people plan commotion and whatsoever. So I think if the university can come out with a report, marry it with the guild, I think police will make their work more simpler. The only challenge I have with police is that they are selective when it comes to investigation. Okay. They are in their armchair and they want to carry out investigation in their armchair investigation. So arrest Musiri, arrest Alfred, arrest Rutaro after making a speech. You know what really happens. Eh? So Bwebuzibwa police, they want to run away from investigation and arrest to mean they are investigating. So I think abantu bana bakwatibwako bamanyi. Tubawo obudde makerere to report kubemanyi abayizi balina, they will more respect their university than the police. The police okulowooza mbu yesobola okukola investigation. They don't have even the power to investigate.
Thank you so
Kubanga
much.
the power is in the people, abantu bebamanyi information. So I think with that we can curb down in violence and also come to common grounds and rules and values. Tubenga tukkiriziganya nti Uganda ekola kino, Uganda ekola kiri.
Thank you so much, Comrade Alfred Ssembajwe. Yes, Comrade Counsel Robert Rutaro, I want to get your closing remarks and also suggest the possible solutions to this.
Well, going back to the topic of discussion, how do we go about it? What is the way forward? What are the solutions? First and foremost, I like the fact that you have talked about the role of political parties in causing violence in universities. And I think we have consensus that political parties have actually played a role. Now, how we go forward is the leadership of these various political parties. It's high time they started preaching peace as opposed to defiance. That's one. Two, the authorities at the universities. It's high time you became sensitive to students' issues. Because when you ignore the students, then they see violence as an alternative means of communication. Three, improve communication. For all the policies and decisions you take as a university, involve the students, because they are stakeholders in these universities. Inclusiveness. You're making policies to implement, to enforce on the students, but the students did not participate
in these
decisions. So they are bound to reject them. Sensitize them about the policies you want to do. Teach them about the benefits. I mean, engage the students. Participatory. Policy analysis. Absolutely. Let them participate.
Thank you so much, Comrade Rutaro. I am really afraid we have to get out of here. And I want to thank everyone who has been part of the show. Comrade Musiri, thank you for creating time to be part of this. Alfred Ssembajwe, thank you so much. You didn't, maybe next time we'll bring you and you tell us how have you been able to be a good president for 3 consecutive terms. It is so unique. And then, Comrade Rutaro Council, I thank you for really creating time to be part of us. And then our viewers, the esteemed viewers, we really thank you. I've been notified by our technical team that we've had technical glitches in the studios, and that's why we've been unable to receive your calls. But we are fixing that, and maybe in the next show, we'll be able to receive your calls. And then the technical team that we've worked with, the Roger in the studios, we thank you for putting this together. My name is Abdalla Tiff. Until next week again, have a good night.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.